Hello, it's Banana, and today I'm going to teach you something that'll be very important to know on our amazing server, LionForge. Today, I'm going to teach you how to use and build a boat. Let's go. There are two types of ships, the rowboat and the sloop. We're going to start with the rowboat. We're going to begin with how to build it. The materials you need to build the rowboat. You need 6 sloped shipwright scaffolding, a little bit of a tongue twister. You're going to need 24 oak planks, 2 oars, and 2 oarlocks. To begin building your rowboat, you're going to need your scaffolding. You're going to take your scaffolding and you're going to place all 6 scaffolding exactly like this in a little boat shape. Now, you want to take your oak planks and you want to fill each frame up. Each frame takes 4 pieces of wood. And this can be any kind of wood. And if you want to take wood out of the frame, you can always just right click and grab the wood back. Make sure to do this in an empty hotbar slot. Now you want to take your oarlocks and place them on each side like this, and you'll see it turns into a nice little boat. You may be wondering, how do we get into the water? You're going to need to take your oars and you want to right click each oarlock while holding an oar, and you have a fully functional rowboat. But it can't be fully functional until we get into the water. In order to get it into the water, we're going to need to use either a water bucket, a lead, or just row it backwards into the water. You can use a lead by using the cleat on the front of the rowboat and dragging it backwards into the water nice and slow, or you can use a water bucket and wash it down like that into the water. The easiest method that doesn't require any extra setup though, or any extra items, is just looking at this little helm icon in the front of the boat, right clicking it, and just rowing your way down into the water. Now it's time to talk about the slots, or the utilities. The first slot is at the very front. This is the helmsman slot. You'll see, when you look at it, you'll see a little helms icon. When you hop into it, obviously you can row the boat around, just like so. These other 4 slots can be used for seats, entities, or workstations and storage. These little box icons are where you can only place workstations and storage, and these 2 seat icons are where you could have optional seating for entities or friends. However, these can be switched out for these box slots where you can place your workstations and your storage. Let me demonstrate. Let's choose a cow and maybe a crafting table and a chest for crafting and storage. Bring this on down here. You can push the cow or use a lead and seat it in the boat, and you'll see when I look at the cow it says press left shift plus right button to eject. You do exactly that and the cow will get out of its seat. However, it does not walk out of its seat, and it will just go right back to where it was sitting or to another open seat. You can do this, you can fix this by having a crafting table or a chest ready to place down. But as you can see, we can place these down anywhere we want on the boat, and we can have our friends here, and then we could even sit next to our cow friend, or we could have another cow friend, just like that, and it still leaves space for me to row the boat around. To retrieve your workstations or storage items that you place down, you can just spam right click and they will pop back up into your inventory. Now you might have noticed that I have cannons in here, and no, unfortunately you cannot place cannons on your rowboat. You just can't. Now, how to use the rowboat. The rowboat is pretty easy to use. First, obviously, in order to move the boat around, you have to use your oars. Like I said many times before, just right click the helm icon and you can just hold down W and use A and D to turn, or just use one of those keys to very slowly turn without moving too much, and S to go backwards. Now for the crew, you would only really need yourself. I mean, you could bring some other people. Maybe you're going to use a rowboat as a little way to transport a small raiding party, who knows? But chances are you're not, and it's best to just use the extra seats for entities and utilities. Now, you may have noticed that we used a cleat on top of the rowboat before to try and haul the boat into the water. Well, that's not the cleat's only use. In fact, that's not even what the cleat is intended for. So if we row over to this nice little dock over here that I have wonderfully built, you can use your lead and you can hook it to the front cleat and to a fence post, and your rowboat will stay docked. Unless, however, you try and row away, then it may snap once you get too far away. Ooh, it's really stretching. Ooh, and there we go. Now for maintenance. To sink a rowboat, it's not very hard. They don't have much health. With a cannon, it only takes 2 shots to sink a rowboat, and they don't even have a sinking mechanic anyways. They kind of just break and drop some extra materials and maybe any of the utilities that were on them and the entities. And with your fist, it takes a while to break though. You just have to keep repeatedly spamming, and you'll notice the boat gets visibly and visibly more cracked, and it'll look pretty damaged. To fix this, you always want to have planks on hand, so you can look at anywhere that doesn't have a prompt, and you'll see a hammer icon. You right click, and you can repair your rowboat. Now it's time for the sloop. We're going to start with how to build it as well. To build the sloop, you're going to need 18 sloped shipwright scaffolding. You're going to need 6 flat shipwright scaffolding. You're going to need a stack and 52 oak planks, or any kind of plank, 4 cleats, and 34 stripped logs of any kind. You're also going to need 24 wool, 8 oak fence, an anchor, and 8 leads. And you may be wondering, stuff like the cleats and the anchors and the oar logs, how do you craft these? Well, I'm going to leave that for you to figure out on your own. To start building your sloop, once again, you're going to need scaffolding. But you're going to have to start with the flat shipwright scaffolding. You're going to want to place 6 of them right here, all 6 in this little pattern. Next, you want to take your sloped shipwright scaffolding and place a U-shaped frame around the 6 flat scaffolding, like this. Then you want to take the last 6 sloped scaffolding and you want to place 3 blocks out, 1, 2, 3, and then turn it back in. And you'll notice there might be a little bit of difficulty with this corner, and you're just going to have to keep working on it until you get it right. You should have something that looks like this, with 6 flat scaffolding in the middle and sloped scaffolding going all the way around it, making it look like a boat. It should be 7 blocks long and 4 blocks wide. Once you have this shape built, fill out each frame or each scaffolding with 4 planks. And like I said before, you can always take these planks back by right clicking. Next, you want to take your cleats and you want to place them on the sides. 1 in the front right here, and just to be clear, you don't want them to be placed like this. No. You want them to be placed like this on the sides. And you'll see it turns into a boat. Now you'll see this little blue hammer icon. This will pop up throughout the construction process, and if you look at it, it'll show you what materials you need. So just follow the hammer and just slowly put your boat together. And lastly, you take your leads and you place the rigging. There will be a slight lag spike when the boat does get constructed, but it's only for like half a second, so it's fine. To get this boat in the water, obviously it's a lot larger than the sloop, and since it operates with sails, you simply cannot just row it backwards into the water. So you're going to have to use either a water bucket or leads. You can hook them to the cleats and drag the boat back into the water slowly, or you can grab your water bucket and you can wash it down into the ocean. What? I haven't seen that happen before. That's a little bit of a technical difficulty. Little bit of a technical difficulty there, and I may have accidentally punched the sloop. You can wash it into the ocean. Yeah, I'll have to use leads to pull it back. And there, we have a sloop in the water and ready to go. It's time for the slots and utilities. There are 7 deck slots, 3 along the sides, and 1 at the back next to the helm. These 7 deck slots can be used for storage, workstations, entities, or, yes, cannons. Now, about the entities, there is a size limit, so no, you cannot put the warden or camels or any other large animals like ravagers on your ships. Or the ender dragon. I have no idea how you do that, but no. Now, the cannons will only be placed at the side slots. This back one right here, you cannot put a cannon back there. And like on the rowboat, all of these spots can also be used for seats, so you can bring along friends or entities. But if you're bringing along friends and you have too many cannons, they don't have to sit down. They can actually just walk around wherever you want. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, you can place a variety of utilities on your ship. You can place a blast furnace, a smoker, a furnace, smithing table, a loom, even a grindstone, a cartography table, stonecutter, crafting table. You can place a barrel, an ender chest, a chest, and even a shulker box and that's all like the storage stuff, and even a jukebox if you wanted to. The variety is amazing, and there are some that you cannot place on the ship, and those are campfires, anvils, and a few others that you could just go figure out on your own. This mod is really fun to experiment with. And I know you're all waiting for the cannons because they're the coolest part. But before we get to that, yes, all of these crafting utility slots, whatever you want to call them, they are all functional. Let's see, if I grab a disc, let's grab one of the Alex's mobs ones, because that's another mod we have on the server. We can play music. So yes, you can listen to sea shanties while sailing, pretty much. Now, let's get to the cannons and how to use them. So, as I said before, cannons can only be placed on these side slots. You can have a total of 6 cannons on a sloop, and you'll see when you look at the cannons, there are icons that show up. These icons show you what you need to use the cannons. So you load them by right-clicking with a cannonball, and then grab your flint and steel and light them, which fires the cannons. To aim them, if you can right-click to aim them up, and you can crouch and right-click to aim them down. Now let's see how high up these things can shoot. That is a lot of range. And another cool bonus feature about the cannons is that they can be placed on land. Although their hitboxes are a bit weird on land, so they might blow up right in front of themselves if not aimed high enough or positioned on the edge of a block. Still very cool though. Now it's time for me to teach you how to use this boat. Before I do that though, I think we should bring some friends with us. Let's bring a chicken and an axolotl. There. Now we have some friends to learn how to sail with us. To sail, you want to raise your sails. The prompt for the jib or the front sail is the little white bundle at the front. The prompt for the mainsail is where the boom meets the mast, and you just right click, and then you want to jump back into your helm, and you'll start moving. Now, this can all look a little bit weird at first because obviously Minecraft doesn't have sailboats, but you'll see down next to my hotbar, to the left of my hotbar, you'll see two little meters. The red one, the one with the little red line, shows where the wind is coming from, and the one with the ship icon in the middle with the colorful arrow spinning around us shows where the wind is coming relative to our ship. And so you can use this to figure out how to angle your sails. To angle your sails, you just use the W and S keys. S brings the sail in, and W pushes the sails out. Now for the different angles of sailing, you'll notice I'm sailing against the wind right now. To do this, you have to have your sails all the way in, and you'll notice that if you go too far into the wind, your sails will start flapping and you will ultimately stop moving. Now you can turn out of this and start moving again, and you may be wondering, well then, how do we effectively sail against the wind? To effectively sail against the wind, you need to do what is known as beating, which is where you zigzag back and forth. You sail up as close to the wind as you can before your sails start flapping, and you zigzag back and forth to make your way to the desired location. Any other position just involves trying to make your boom or your mainsail perpendicular to the wind direction. So you want to push your sails out as far as you can when the wind's coming from behind. You'll notice that the jib will go out to the opposite side if the wind is fully behind us, and if we flip around, our sails will start flapping and we'll catch wind on the other side. You might notice that the boat will be a little bit difficult to steer, and this is because the boat tends to drift to windward or leeward, away from the wind, in the direction of the wind pretty much. And this requires the helmsman to stay on helm, and so you cannot really AFK long journeys. So that's a bummer, but also cool at the same time because it requires you to pay attention to what you're doing, and the helm can be a little bit unstable at times, especially when you are trying to approach shore. See, if I'm trying to avoid this, it's a little bit difficult to steer, and I'll just crash into shore. But don't worry, there's no collision damage, so you'll be fine. And besides, that's how you'll park at shores anyways. It's basically just ramming into them and then dropping sail once you're rammed into the shore. But you'll notice, see how the ship is drifting like this? You just have to make sure to watch which way it's turning and try and stay going in a straight course. And annoying as it may be, it's definitely worth it because you go much faster than a vanilla boat. But that depends on the position you're in. Oh no! Our axolotl is dying. Maybe I should have kept him in the water. Another cool feature that I noticed when learning this mod is that you can hop off helm and move around your boat, but only when your mainsail is down. When your mainsail is up, oh, it looks like we've stopped moving. When your mainsail is up, you are locked in position in this middle area. You can reach everything, but you're just locked here. So you can fix this by lowering the mainsail and hopping back on helm, and maybe making sure you don't crash into a jungle like I did. And now with just a jib up, you can move around your boat. And you might be wondering why this is useful. Well, maybe you need to slow down and get things set up, or you need to grab something while you're going on a voyage. It doesn't matter. It has a variety of uses. But the most useful use to me that I find super interesting, I like to call this battle sails. So if you have a crew and you're going into dangerous waters, or you're fighting someone, specifically if you're fighting someone, if you have a crew and you're fighting someone, it's best to just leave the jib up because you go at this nice steady pace, which gives you more time to aim, and your crew can walk around freely, adjust sails, etc., and they can access whatever they want and move around. Maybe if your boats get close, they can even try and smack the other crewmates on the opposing ship. That's how to sail. Now, you'll notice that we did install an anchor on the ship. Now the anchor, depending on how deep the water is, will take time to go down. And it will keep going down as you move. If you lower the anchor, you will still keep moving. You won't just immediately stop moving. But the shallower water you're in, the faster it'll take to anchor. And the deeper water you're in, the longer it'll take to anchor. So keep that in mind. So it might be smarter to lower the sails and then anchor. If you want to get back moving, you just look at the anchor, look at the little anchor prompt, and race it back up. And as it's racing, you can get a move on. Now, I was talking about crew before, and yes, it is very helpful to have crew, because if you have a crew, they can lower sails and stop the ship before you crash into it. For example, if I'm sailing and let's turn around, say I want to go back to the shore over here. I want to go to this nice little beach. Well, I would have to hop out of helm and try and time it perfectly to lower the sails, and most of the time that won't work well because now I'm not at shore in time. Or maybe I'm sailing and I want to lower anchor, well, I'd have to hop out of helm for that. And see, now we're crashed into the we're crashed into the shore, which is not very fun, is it? Especially since it can block some of the prompts like the jib and stuff, which makes it hard to. It's also useful for fighting, as I said before as well. You can have someone operating the helm, someone operating the cannons, and somebody that operates the sails and repairs. And I did show you how to dock with the rowboat. Well, yes, you can dock with the sloop as well. Maybe anchor or lower sails, which would be the most preferable option. Now that we're at a dock, you can hook onto the two cleats and hook them to fence posts. And if you hook both cleats to two fence posts, the boat will straighten itself and become perfectly aligned with the dock, just like so, and lock in place, allowing for this nice little dock access and ship access, which also makes it easier to move mobs off the ship and to just move around it in general. And it also looks super nice because your ship is tied super tight to the dock. It looks nice and it's just super neat. The next thing I have to show is customization. You can paint your ships and your rowboats a bunch of different colors, and each different color has its own unique design. You can also name your ship or place a flag on it. Painting your ship or your rowboat is actually quite simple. You just take your desired color and you'll see a little paint icon when you look at the side of the boat. You just right click and boom, you've painted your boat. With the rowboats, they just get painted the color of your dye. With the ships or the sloops, they get their own special design. White looks like this, light gray looks like this, gray looks like that, and I'll just cycle through each one. The black has a little pirate icon at the back. The brown looks kind of neat. The red looks like a watermelon, which I'm not particularly fond of, but you know. The yellow has that 18th century battleship look. This just looks like leaves. The regular green dye kind of just makes it look like a Minecraft themed boat. The orange makes it look like whatever this is. This is not a very pretty color scheme, I would say. It's not my thing. But you know, not everybody's me. Then you have the cyan, which is just a rainbow. The light blue, which looks like whatever in the world this is. The blue looks like that. Purple, magenta, looks like Easter eggs, and pink, which makes it look all girly and flowery. To name your ship, you want to take an anvil and a name tag, and it's just like naming an animal. Look up to your ship, and you right click it with the name tag, and you'll see a little nameplate will appear on the bow on the opposite side of the anchor that says your ship's name, and you'll also have a nameplate on the back, on the stern of the ship, that says the ship's name, obviously. One thing I also forgot to mention is that you can also dye your sails colors. They will just be a normal color, but they will look like this. See? For the banners, yes, you can place custom designs made from looms and such, but however, when you place them, for some reason you can't remove them, which is a little bit weird, but you know, this is a new mod, so you can't expect too much. And to place your flag on the top of the mast, you walk up to the mast and you hold space and you will start climbing the mast, which is another cool feature because you can actually just chill at the top of your mast, maybe even as you're sailing with a crew, and look around for things. But you right click the mast with your desired flag or banner, and it'll show up on the mast. So it's pretty cool, right? Now it's time to talk about the Sloop Maintenance. So it's pretty similar to the Rowboat. The Sloop can take 6 cannon shots before it is fully sunken, but the cool thing about the Sloop is it does actually have a sinking mechanic, which I'll show you afterwards. It will literally sink and fall to the seafloor, and all of the barrels and utilities will float up. And to show you that, I'm going to put all these dies in this barrel here. Sail it out to the middle and destroy this pink monstrosity. For repairing, it's pretty similar to the Rowboat. You just need to make sure you have a lot... What the heck? Freaking fish. Get out. You just need to make sure you have a lot of wood on you. So if I start punching the boat a lot, it's very difficult to destroy a sloop by punching. That's why we have cannons. But you'll see I can repair the ship. And now if we grab a sword, you'll see it start to take more and more visible damage. And it will sink. Now I'm pretty sure it will just disappear and all of the items will pop out when you destroy it by hand, but if it is shot by cannons, it will sink, and it has this cool little animation. I'll let you see that for yourself maybe sometime if you go venturing. And you'll notice it drops a lot of items. It drops all the utilities, which yes, you can open them and retrieve them, and it'll drop all the cannons, which I believe you can also retrieve. But you'll notice you can open the chest compartments and the barrels will actually float, and if you right click a barrel, you're able to sit in it as it floats. And you'll see I just got an achievement, Lost at Sea, ride a barrel. I don't believe you can move the barrel in any way, but you know, it's pretty cool. And if you crouch and right click, you can open the barrel, which allows for pirating on servers. People can actually steal from others by sinking them. So that's a pretty cool feature. That's a really cool feature, actually. Now I'm going to explain a few of the little extra features, or really just one extra feature. This extra feature is the structures. So you don't have to really craft all of the scaffolding or all of the wood or get all those materials. Well, you do have to get the materials anyways, but you might be wondering like how you get the scaffolding, and you don't just have to craft it. There's structures that naturally spawn around the world that you can find. I'm not sure if they spawn on the custom map because I'm making this tutorial before the server is released, but I'll show you them anyways. So you'll notice right here that I found an unfinished sloop. It will have some of the wood in the scaffolding, it'll have some extra scaffolding around it, and it'll have a barrel with some items in it, some useful items. It'll have this nice little texture underneath, and these structures will generally spawn on rivers and oceans. You'll see here that this is what an unfinished rowboat looks like. It's kind of the same idea. It's just like an unfinished rowboat with these torches sitting around and a barrel with some items inside to help you finish up the build, or maybe just break all of it and bring it home with you to your little shipyard. Who knows? And that was the tutorial. I hope you learned a lot, and hope you now know how to be a pirate or a sailor or a merchant or whatever you want to be, and you can be all those things as long as you know how to use these boats. And I hope I taught you how to do that very well. So go have fun sailing on our wonderful world of LionForge.